Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about something very interesting. NEOS recently launched 3 brand new ETFs, XSPI, XQQI, and XBCI, and they are calling this the Boosted High Income series. Now here's the headline. These funds aim to potentially generate about 150% of the income of SPYI, QQQI, and BTCI. So naturally the question is this simply higher yield, or is this higher risk disguised as higher income? Let's break this down clearly in this video. And as always, this is not financial advice. Everything I say here is for entertainment and educational purposes. Please do your own research and invest based on your risk tolerance. Like this video and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. Alright, let's move on. So what are these 3 new funds? These 3 new funds are XSPI, boosted version of SPYI, which tracks the S&P 500, XQQI, the boosted version of QQQI, which tracks the Nasdaq 100, and XBCI, the boosted version of BTCI, which provides Bitcoin exposure. So if you already know SPYI and QQQI, you know they own the underlying equities, sell out of the money index call, generate monthly income, focus on tax efficiency using Section 1256 contracts. And these boosted funds keep that same foundation, but they add one major component, and that is leveraged. So how are they getting the 1.5x exposure? This part is very important. They are not using swaps like some other leverage ETFs. Instead, they are using an options-based synthetic long strategy. Here is what that means in simple terms. They buy a call, sell the put, same strike, same expiration. That combination creates what's called a synthetic long position. So now instead of being long 100% of the portfolio, they are effectively long about 150% exposure. And on top of that, they continue selling all of the money calls, just like SPYI and QQQI, to collect premium. So structurally, it looks like this. Long equities, synthetic long exposure, covered call overlay. That's how they are boosting the income potential. Next, did NEOS mention a target yield? The answer is no. When I listened to an interview with Troy Kitts, the co-founder of NEOS, he did not mention a specific target yield. He did not say this will yield 18% or this will yield 20%. He said the potential exists to generate around 1.5 times the distribution of the core funds. But he emphasized something critical. It's not so much about the distributions, it's about total return. So this is not a yield targeted product. The distribution will depend on option premiums, market direction, volatility, whether total return can sustainably support the payout. That distinction is very important. What happens in a bull market? In a rising market, because of the added leverage, these boosted funds could participate more on the upside, generate more premium, potentially distribute more income. Troy gave an example. If the S&P is up 10% and SPYI is up maybe 8%, the boosted version might get closer to 10% or 11%. That's the idea. More upside participation. Now, what happens in a bear market? Now, here's the part that many people ignore or hate. If the Nasdaq drops 30%, the boosted version will likely underperform QQQI because now you have 100% equity exposure, 50% additional synthetic long exposure. So the losses are magnified. Yes, you are still collecting option premium, but leverage cuts both ways. And Troy was very clear about this. These are not conservative products. These are risk-on solutions. Now let's talk a bit more about XBCI. I want to slow down for a moment and talk more about it. Bitcoin is already volatile. BTCI itself already uses option to generate income. But XBCI adds synthetic leverage on top of that. So now you have Bitcoin exposure, options overlay, leverage. That means in strong bull runs, it could perform very well. But in sharp Bitcoin drawdowns, and we all know Bitcoin can drop 30, 40, even 50 to 60%, the losses can be amplified significantly. This is definitely not a conservative income product. This is a high conviction, high volatility, risk on instrument. If someone does not fully understand Bitcoin cycles, adding leverage on top of that can be very painful. So XBCI deserves extra caution compared to XSPI or XQQI. What about the expense ratio? The expense ratio for all boosted ETFs is 0.98%. For comparison, SPYI and QQQI are 0.68%. So yes, you are paying more. The added cost reflects the additional option structures, the synthetic leverage management, the operational complexity, but they are not embedding costs through swaps. The structure is transparent through index options. So who are these funds for? Well, these funds are designed for investors who already like SPYI or QQQI, believe the market will trend higher, they are comfortable with higher volatility, they want potentially higher income, and they understand leverage risk. And these are not for conservative retirees, investors who panic during drawdowns, people who only focus on headline yield. Because higher yield never comes free. It always comes with higher risk. Now, here's how I think about it. The core NEOS funds are already aggressive income products. Adding leverage makes them even more aggressive. So the real question is, where does this fit in your portfolio? If you are already heavily exposed to equities, adding leverage increases volatility meaningfully. But if you have strong conviction in a long-term bull market, this structure could amplify returns. The key is position sizing and understanding the risk. For full disclosure, I have purchased 50 shares of XBCI at $41. I want to dip my feet slightly wet into these boosted funds. The position is small and I can definitely sleep well even if the market drops further. So to recap, XSPI is the boosted S&P 500, XQQI is the boosted Nasdaq 100, and XBCI is the boosted Bitcoin. All use synthetic long leverage through options. All distribute monthly. All carry more downside risk. There is no fixed yield target. The focus is on total return sustainability. Before investing, make sure you understand how synthetic leverage works, how covered call cap upside, how drawdowns behave in leverage structure, because in investing, understanding structure is more important than chasing yield. If you found this useful, do give the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more deep breakdowns like this. And let me know in the comments, would you choose the core version or the boosted version? Alright, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.